speaker has when there was the war on graffiti, I got to meet him a few times. It's Scott Mills from the Toronto Police, and thanks for coming out, Scott.
Thanks. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be able to speak publicly as a police officer on the graffiti issue. And I know I have 6 minutes here, and I don't have a prepared video or a presentation, but what I am is I'm live on the internet with some links to some very important information, and at the end of it I'm going to tweet those links on my Twitter account so that everybody can go back and grab it at their leisure and read through it, because some of it's very lengthy and a lot of it celebrates a lot of the good work done by many people in this room and many people in this city coming together in collaboration on this issue for some time. So my current role is Toronto Police Corporate Communications, and I'm actually on parental leave right now, but when I got the invite from Stefan to come tonight, I said I really want to be there, and I really want to celebrate what we're doing as a team together with a little bit of a history, but more so the state of now. So what I'm going to do, I thought the first thing that I would show here is that is the Toronto Police Graffiti Program link on our website. It's a little difficult to find, so I'm going to tweet that so you can go right to it, so you have this reference afterwards. Our program used to be called the Graffiti Eradication Program. It's now called the Graffiti Management Program, and I think that's a very giant leap forward for a balanced approach. And I think that we owe a lot to many people collaborating on all sides of this issue to come up with where we're at now. Before I came down here, I sent off to the people in our Toronto Police Divisional Policing Unit who are tasked with the Graffiti Management Program, A, to ask permission to be able to come tonight, but B, more so to get exactly what they're doing. And I got an email with really key points that I just want to summarize here, and I'm gonna actually reference my phone here so that I get it right. The main elements of our graffiti management program at Toronto Police are education. We've actually got school resource officers that are going into the schools and celebrating exactly what was just stated by the previous speaker here from the City of Toronto, that we want to give people opportunities, but anything to do with vandalism is not acceptable and won't be tolerated by anybody. And I just, on that point, on the education point, I'd just like to say I've worked very closely with many graffiti artists over the last 10 years, and I've come to learn that putting the words graffiti and vandalism in the same sentence do not work. It doesn't work, because the graffiti artist sees graffiti just as that art, and when the word vandalism and crime go along with it, it detracts what they feel it's all about. I think more appropriately is to look at the words permission. So we've got some partnerships with Boost, with our school boards, with our community school liaison officers and our school resource officers and our crime prevention officers, and we even have graffiti liaison officers in every division, and that's been a long-standing thing, and I used to do that at number 14 division, which is the western part of Toronto. So we've got some partnerships with the TTC, Go Transit, and all the City of Toronto departments that are working on this issue. And the second point is we're trying really hard to work with diversion programs in courts, which basically means that if you're arrested for an offense under the criminal code called mischief, and it's in any way related to the graffiti issue, that you can actually be hooked up with people that are doing great things to become community builders with your skills and become really great with your skills. And I've worked over the years with graffiti artists. They didn't know what a business plan was. They didn't know how to write a grant proposal. They just didn't understand that end of things. And once we started talking and collaborating together, we've been able to foster some opportunities for skill development with all that. So Ideally, we would like to basically get a hold of somebody that is arrested and take a negative and make it into a positive, and go right to the root cause of some of the vandalism, which is somebody actually doing the vandalism and getting their mindset into a spot where they don't want to do it anymore. The other point is coordination of resources. There's so many people that work on this issue and touch it. A lot of people are doing it part-time. A lot of people are just interested in doing it volunteer. And it's really great to try. We're trying really hard to coordinate it. And the person that's in charge to coordinate all that is Steve Pipe. He's a staff sergeant in what we call our divisional policing unit. And they actually physically are housed out of the old 23 division over on Islington Avenue. And they want to help. We've got our auxiliary officers involved. And one of the key things is that we don't want to make victims of victims. And I think even though the legislation in Toronto might be written that way, I think a number of the stakeholders have decided we don't want to make victims of victims. And that brings me up to the next article that I want to bring to your attention, which was very recently. It came out in the Report on Business in the Globe and Mail on April 8th, 2013. And to be honest with you, I couldn't even remember the actual time when the independent writer that wrote this contacted me for the quote. And this was brought to my attention by a person that I call the Graffiti King of Canada, a person named Sterling Downey, who runs an event called Under Pressure in Montreal. He BBM'd me, and you know, how is it that a graffiti king would be BBMing a cop? And now I'm standing in a public forum on video talking about it. He BBM'd me, and what he said on the BBM, and if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just reading it word for word, because I thought it was fabulous for where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. And he basically said, nice article in the Globe and Mail. I really like your position on graffiti. I'm using the article to help educate some city officials here in Montreal. And I wrote back, I said, when was that in the Globe and Mail? Didn't see it, I'm heading to bed now. And he sent me back the link to the article. And this article, I just read it again before I came up here, because there was one key point that I wanted to reiterate. And it's because of this balanced approach where we have people in the Queen Street West BIA quoted in this article saying that there's been a 90% reduction in violation notices in that area, which is essentially meaning, what it means is that this balanced approach is actually reducing victims becoming victims. And to me, that's working, because it's also giving opportunities for our graffiti artists, and I'm sure you're going to see some of that represented here tonight, because there is a gentleman that, I don't know if he's speaking or on the panel or anything, and I don't even see him in the room right now, but he did walk in here earlier. And I've got my young son with me here tonight, and I said, you're in the presence of royalty here, Adam. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you're looking at Elixir. Elixir's like an amazing graffiti artist, an accomplished man, and travels the world doing all this type of stuff. What I didn't tell Adam when Elixir reached in his wallet and gave me his business card was that the first time I met Elixir was in the Richmond Street alleyway at Queen and Bathurst, when I kind of rolled up on him as a police officer and he started to run. And then somebody was yelling at him and said, no, yeah, he's a cop, but it's Scott, it's okay. Well, what we've done is through a series of relationships and technology, I basically celebrate a lot of what I've felt was right for the years, using technology and YouTube. And there's the YouTube channel. It's called Legal Graffiti Art. And if I were to name that channel today, I wouldn't call it Legal Graffiti Art. I wouldn't name it that. And that's the whole learning process. Yep. I wouldn't make a differentiation between legal and illegal on my channel. But there's lots of videos there for reference. And again, I'll tweet that later. The next one that I'd like to show you is I've got a blog, and the address for the blog is successandsafety.com, and I write on a lot of issues in relation to relationships and technology. This piece we had a session like this at the Toronto Police College when we were first forming this balanced approach a couple of years ago. And I got to go there in my official capacity as Toronto Police Social Media Officer, and I just started documenting and taking videos of everything that was said that day by all of the stakeholders who were present. I documented it. I took pictures of the key people. Some of them are in this room today, like Jody Callan. She's in this picture and she's in the room. And there's Steve Ferrer from Well and Good and some of our police officers all there. And I wrote down what was being said with links. And I included some of my most favorite videos of taking something that's generally seen as negative to a positive in here. That's a video right there of the head of the Financial Crimes Unit at Toronto Police spray painting a BMX bike ramp on Queen Street West at a Style and Progress event. I've got over 4,000 videos on YouTube. This video is 37 seconds long and has almost 1 million video views on it worldwide. And all it is a police officer working together with a graffiti artist taking a spray can and spraying something saying, "Is this how I do this?" So that's the START program information. Lots and lots of info on here. It's linked to every single project that I've ever been involved with. We document them all on here so that other people could see it, and I'll tweet that link out. The last part I'd like to say just before we're done here is because one of our city councillors, I believe, is sitting here. I just, on this blog, and I don't even know if I can find it because I don't have this one queued up, but it's right here. It's called What the Allen Gardens Aboriginal Themed Toronto Mural Means to Me. Now, I'll leave you with this story about making a difference in this city. Stefan started talking to me today about being overworked and, it just so many things going on in his head, and I got to get this done. And a lot of us are like that every day. And he told me a story about somebody that he was talking with that was a patient at CAMH. And I don't need to get into details about what this is about, but if you want to look at this, this is somebody that I'm working with that reached out and came to one of these programs with me that generally would never reach out to a police officer. And as a result of her reaching out and her interest in Native culture, I said, there's this great mural that's happening over at Allen Gardens with the Native culture. Would you like to do a piece for my blog? And she went over there and wrote what the art meant to her and took a whole bunch of pictures. And it's all celebrated here on this blog about what this is all about. And I'm telling you, I learned a lot from that mural without even being involved in the process because of this young person that reached out to me. And it's definitely a bridge to building some great things. So I think our time's up here, and we're going to keep it all on schedule. But I really think that in closing that tonight is important and talking about these issues is important. And thank you to Stefan from Direct Engagement and his entire team for making this all work.
Next question.
I think you've got a response waiting over you from the officer. I think he's...
Yeah, just on the gang-related thing, I've had to struggle with this issue as a police officer and bridging that issue and educating on that for a long time. And what the gentleman said is right. A very small percentage is gang-related. A very small percentage is gang-related of graffiti is gang-related in Toronto, which is good news. The mural that Lily referred to at the first that was done on the police station at number 23 Division, that was done by a graffiti artist, Magic Finger Wong is his name, and he worked in conjunction with Staff Sergeant Kim Scanlon. And without getting into a lot of details, I think that mural is very symbolic in this whole issue in relation to graffiti and gangs. To me, it's a non-issue, but I've been immersed in this culture for 10 years on both sides. But for many other people it is, and it always gets portrayed wrong in the media. And on that particular mural, I have to be careful how I word this because I don't want to
piss off anybody. But there was some controversy about whether what was being put up on there were gang symbols. And so I got involved in a consultation program behind the scenes, and I can tell you that it all came down to leadership. And now that's a very, very symbolic mural on these issues, because it came down to dialogue, understanding of each other's positions, from police officers to graffiti artists, and leadership from the top at the police station. So I just thought that was a very good point to put in there. Leadership, and we have some amazing leadership in this room tonight, led by Direct Engagement and Stefan and his team. And we have some very important things being said here tonight on all the issues. And I hope that on my Twitter right now, I'm getting people saying, where's the live feed? Where do I go for the links? And I'm saying, they're recording, it's going to be posted. So please feel free to share this information. It's hard to get all these perspectives in a room standing in the Art Gallery in Ontario being spoken. It's a very important message here tonight.
Yeah, cast beyond graphic. Yeah, y'all want to roll with us?